Kleppers Corner, a week of the weird. Welcome back to Kleppers Corner, folks. You know, we cover politics, world affairs, all the stuff that makes you want to throw your phone into the ocean. But sometimes the weird stories are the ones that tell us the most. Because in the last week, while politicians were screaming on cable news, Florida men were using sprinklers as weapons, NASA was basically running a taco truck in orbit, and two British dogs decided to end humanity's excuse of, sorry, I'm too tired to fold laundry. So buckle up. This is the week of the weird, August 17th through the 23rd. Segment 1. Florida, always Florida. We start, as always, in the Vatican City of Weird, Florida. First, the sprinkler stalker of Ocala. A 61-year-old man spent an entire year timing his sprinklers to soak two disabled kids waiting at a bus stop. Every day, twice a day. He wasn't growing grass, he was growing resentment. This is suburban warfare at its pettiest. Forget drones, forget missiles. We're talking about irrigation-based terrorism. Somewhere in The Hague, they're rewriting the Geneva Convention to add no sprinkler strikes on school children. And the dad of those kids? He eventually wore swimming trunks every morning just to escort them. That's next-level parenting. Not just packing a lunchbox, but packing goggles. Then there was Ronald Harmon, the skid steer bandit. He hot-wired a construction vehicle, smashed into a tech college, broke into city buildings, stole some copper piping, then topped it off by stealing a city truck. This isn't burglary. This is a midlife crisis combined with Mario Kart. I half expected him to throw turtle shells at the cops. Damage caused, $59,000. Value of stolen goods, barely enough to cover an Applebee's happy hour. If you're going to destroy the infrastructure of a city, at least steal something sexy, like gold bars or nuclear codes, not copper valves. And because Florida loves balance, while humans raged, nature joined the party. A man survived a direct lightning strike. He woke up in the hospital with a heart rate of 265 beats per minute. For context, that's the BPM of Skrillex's dubstep heart attack. Doctors didn't know whether to save him or sell tickets. Finally, scammers struck again. A guy in Palm Coast ran an arrest warrant scam, convincing people to drop thousands of dollars in mailboxes to avoid jail. It's like Uber Eats, but for extortion. And people actually fell for it. Imagine, honey, where's the cash? Oh, I left it in the mailbox so the cops wouldn't get me. Florida proves every week that the American dream isn't dead. It just smells like wet grass and fried gator nuggets. Segment 2. Cosmic weirdness, flares, and tortillas. Meanwhile, space reminded us that Florida's chaos doesn't stop at the stratosphere. On August 22nd, the sun unleashed a surprise solar flare. Astronomers called it an M1.7 class flare, which is science talk for your radio turned into a toaster, and some guy in Mexico lost a ham radio chess match. The sun basically went on vacation, disappeared for 2 weeks, then came back like, I've been working on myself. And by working on itself, I mean blasting radiation at us like a drunk ex texting at 3 a.m. But the real headline wasn't the flare, it was tortillas. On August 23rd, SpaceX launched a cargo run to the ISS carrying over 1,500 tortillas. 14 entire bags dedicated to nothing but tortillas. NASA said this was a milestone, which, yeah, it's a milestone in space cuisine, but also in bureaucracy. Some guy in Houston had to sign off on a line item that said tortillas bulk. And here's the kicker. The same mission gave SpaceX the power to literally lift the ISS into higher orbit. That used to be Russia's job. Now Elon Musk does it, powered by tacos. This is how geopolitical empires fall. Not with nukes, but with fajita night. Imagine the astronauts. For years, they lived on freeze-dried peas. Now they're having Taco Tuesday at 17,000 miles per hour. Somewhere in Houston, Mission Control is yelling, "Stop playing mariachi music on the comms." This is history, folks. When they write about the decline of Russia in space, it won't be about funding or politics. It'll be, they lost to tortillas. Segment 3. Science gets weirder. Science wasn't about to be left out. This week, researchers invented a breathing crystal, a rock that literally inhales and exhales oxygen. Scientists call it biomimicry. I call it the first step toward dating rocks. This could revolutionize energy and electronics, but it also sounds like the plot of a Disney Pixar movie. Rocky, the crystal who just wanted to breathe. Coming soon, voiced by Vin Diesel. Then another study revealed microbes in a mother's body can shape a baby's brain before it's born, which means nurture starts in the womb. Your stress response, your social behavior, partially programmed by bacteria. So the next time your teenager screams, "I didn't ask to be born," you can say, "Don't blame me, blame the yogurt." Together, these discoveries blur the line between life and non-life. Crystals breathe. Microbes sculpt brains. Basically, everything's alive and none of it pays taxes. Segment 4. Weddings, weird justice, and dogs doing laundry. Let's take a break from science and step into the sacred institution of marriage. In Bangkok, a groom named Fenil rolled up to his wedding, not on a horse, not in a limo, but in a Batmobile. Now, traditionally, a barat is all about cultural pride, music, dancing, and spectacle. But this guy said, what if Bruce Wayne lived in Mumbai? And boom, out comes the Batmobile blasting Bollywood beats. Half the internet said, this is the coolest wedding ever. The other half said, this is why millennials can't buy houses. I say, if you show up to your wedding in a Batmobile, you better also promise your spouse a bat cave. Because nothing says, till death do us part, like fighting crime on your honeymoon. Meanwhile, crime across the globe got weird too. In Seattle, a cargo ship captain was arrested for boating under the influence. Look, we've all seen drunk drivers, but drunk captains? That's next level. You don't just swerve into a mailbox, you swerve into Taiwan. In San Antonio, a guy tried to steal a food truck's tip jar and got shot. That's America in one headline. Desperate man tries to grab $10, ends up paying with his life. If Dickens wrote Great Expectations today, it'd be, please sir, may I have some more Venmo? And in Melbourne, Australia, a lawyer actually used AI to generate fake legal citations in a murder trial. That's right, ChatGPT is now out here committing perjury. Imagine sitting in prison because a bot made up Johnson v. Kangaroo 1987. But not all weirdness was dark. Over in the UK, 2 dogs, Simba and Bonnie, broke Guinness World Records. One for leapfrog jumping, the other for hanging laundry. Yes, dogs are now better at chores than your kids. Somewhere in Britain, a teenager was told to fold laundry and replied, "Ask Simba." Think about this. In 1 week, humanity put tortillas in space while dogs hung socks on a line. We are either entering a golden age of interspecies cooperation or preparing for a Pixar movie called Laundry Buddies. Segment 5. Art, animals, and the strange business of diplomacy. Now, let's talk about art. In San Francisco, Mexico rolled out 20-foot-tall alebrije sculptures, fantastical animals painted in neon colors, parading through public parks like psychedelic kaiju. This is cultural diplomacy at its weirdest. Politicians argue about walls and border patrol, but Mexico said, what if we just send America giant rainbow jaguars? And you know what? It works. You see a 20-foot neon lizard in San Francisco, you stop worrying about tariffs and start taking selfies. Honestly, this is the best kind of diplomacy. Forget trade negotiations, send the Wakan giraffe with wings, and suddenly Congress is like, maybe NAFTA wasn't so bad. It proves that sometimes the weirdest art speaks louder than the angriest pundit. Because you can't shout, build the wall, while a 1,200-pound papier-mâché dragon is twerking in your face. Segment 6, the tragedy of Cavar. But not every weird headline is funny. Sometimes it's tragic. In Cavar, Iran, 2 teenagers died of carbon monoxide poisoning after running a car at a garage to escape extreme heat during a blackout. At first glance, it seems bizarre. Who would sit in a garage with a running car? But in context, it makes tragic sense. Temperatures were lethal. Power outages were constant. Air conditioning wasn't an option, so they used the only tool they had. It's the kind of story that gets filed under weird news, but it's really a symptom of something bigger: systemic collapse. Climate change, failing infrastructure, government neglect. What looks strange is actually inevitable when a society can't provide basics like electricity during a heat wave. And that's what makes it the saddest weird story of the week, because behind every odd headline, there's usually a very human failure. Segment 7, wrapping up the weird. So, what did this week teach us? That Florida men don't fight fair. They fight with sprinklers. That tortillas are now international weapons of diplomacy. That crystals can breathe, microbes raise your children, and Batman officiates weddings in Thailand. That dogs fold laundry while lawyers use AI to invent fake laws. And that sometimes the strangest, saddest stories are really just reminders of how fragile our systems are. The weird isn't a distraction, it's a mirror. It shows us the absurdity, the innovation, the cruelty, and the wonder of being human in 2025. So the next time you scroll past a headline like "Dog Set Laundry Record" or "Florida Man Arrested with Skid Steer," don't laugh and move on. Okay, do laugh, but also realize it's telling you something about who we are, what we value, and where we're failing. That's this week of the weird. That's Kleppers Quarter.